projector. This is my slide. It's blank, just like the last one. Yeah. I have a nervous action that I do. I can't help it. All right. Well, my name's Deacon. I'm doing a presentation on cross-site scripting on MySpace. Get started. I have notes, just so everyone knows that's what I'm doing down here. A little bit about me. I'm 20. I work as an IT specialist at a CPA firm in Beechwood. I'm not really sure what IT specialist means. They gave me that title. I don't like it very much, but I can't change it. Basically, I do network administrator type stuff, usually. I'm also a part-time student at Lorraine County Community College and University of Akron, studying for a bachelor's in networking through University of Akron. I have personal experience in IT for 7 years and security for about 4. I had an article published in 2600 magazine relating pretty much to the same thing that I'm doing a presentation on, although it's a little bit different. Other things I do, work on my car. I'm into music and whatnot. But this is an overview. Basically what I'm going to be talking about. As if anyone didn't know, I'll be talking about what MySpace is, what cross-site scripting is, how to find cross-site scripting vulnerabilities, the ones that MySpace has, how to exploit them, protection from them, tools that I use, and the closing. And as you can read as my little disclaimer at the bottom, the presentation is not really, it's a how-to, but it's not going to tell someone without any knowledge how to do anything. So it's meant to keep script kiddies away. So if this were to ever go somewhere else, published somewhere or whatever, for whatever reason, someone wouldn't just be able to pick this up and then do it if they don't have some technical knowledge. MySpace.com obviously is one of the largest social networking sites, if not the biggest. I'm sure many of you people know that. It's driven by various dynamic web applications, profiles, searches, there's chat rooms, there's classifieds, music pages, there's video. They just implemented a new news site that is like Dig. It's obviously has a huge impact on society today. It's in TV, it's in media, it's in radio. I mean, I was just talking to my girlfriend the other day, and we were talking about how everybody knows everybody because MySpace just opened up a whole new world of being able to talk to whoever you want to from wherever. It just ends up, you knowing everybody. And exactly what I have there. Who knows who goes where. You can find a lot of information from people on MySpace. I mean, even sometimes people make the mistake of posting information that they really shouldn't be giving out to, public internet, but your name and address, where you work, that's all listed sometimes on your front page depending on how discreet you are about it. Your hobbies, your cars as in what you drive, so people may actually know exactly what your car looks like if you have a picture with it. I mean, you can give out some pretty good information about yourself without you even knowing it. Given all the information that you could get from MySpace, it has very minimal security. I mean, it's vulnerable to all of these various attacks. Social engineering, obviously phishing. Tons of people get their profiles hacked, quote unquote hacked, daily by clicking links and thinking they're logging into MySpace and they're actually just giving it to a phishing site, and then someone later is just logging in as them and whatnot, spreading the virus some more. Packet capture over a public network, MySpace viruses, spam, malware, spyware, all gets posted into the same thing that has to do with phishing. URL injections, cross-site request forgeries, and cross-site scripting. All of those vulnerabilities can be exploited on MySpace, and like I said, given the information, it can be pretty dangerous. Some of the famous ones, if you read any security sites or even Dig, I believe, posted most of these. The SAMI viruses, very popular. He programmed the one script to actually propagate itself and then friend people over and over. And he had like 1 million friends in no time. And they didn't have to accept it either. He would just get all these friends. That was big, and that was on a lot of news sites over the time. It used cross-site scripting as well, but a lot more scripting that's involved, and a lot more involved than what I'm going to be talking about. QuickTime virus wasn't too long ago. I believe it still sort of is in place, that you can still exploit it in some manners. What it did was basically you went to a person's page, you had this QuickTime movie that they got from visiting another person who had it, and it played, and then at the end of it, which actually there was no video at all, but at the end of it, it just executed JavaScript, and then it made itself propagate onto the next person who viewed his profile. It just kept going and going, and what it did at the same time, we also added a phishing bar at the top of your page, so you click login, it looks like a page that is the normal login, but it's actually the site that's phishing for passwords. And they also is vulnerable to the Windows Meta file, which was a while ago, but it was vulnerable to that at the same time. Cross-site scripting is basically, it's a vulnerability that can be found in very, very many web applications. It's very common in tons of places. Basically what it does is it allows code injection of various sorts, HTML, JavaScript, you can do PHP, anything you need to into it, and you can encode it into hex or Unicode or anything like that to actually put it in and execute it. It can be used for phishing or browser exploitation, as in you can actually sometimes execute arbitrary code that would crash a browser, and then you can't really do too much beyond that. I'm sure there are ways to do it, but and then obviously phishing, that's a big thing. That's whatever. I mean, it's still all over with the phishing sites all over MySpace. You go to tons of people's profiles and you see it all messed up. One of the bigger things it's used for is session hijacking and cookie stealing, which what you do is steal the cookie using cross-site scripted link that's encoded. We'll talk about that later because that's basically what the presentation is about. To find cross-site scripting vulnerabilities, it's very easy. All you need to do is insert a simple script into a URL. It really is simple, and I'll talk about that now. Here's how to do it, basically. How to embed, this one is embedding JavaScript into a hyperlink. As you can see, the hyperlink, it's using trustedsite.org search application. That's just obviously just the site I came up with. And you enter under the criteria, you would tell it to run script alert XSS, which would open, it would come up, an alert would pop up as soon as you click the link that said XSS. And that would mean that it's vulnerable because you just put basic JavaScript into the URL. And LOL interwebs is the actual name of the link that would come up instead of actually seeing anything funny that would look weird. And like it says, you will see a warning box if it's successful. And then you know right away that it's susceptible to cross-site scripting, which I'm now going to refer to as XSS because it's quicker. Same link structure can be used to display cookie information, which means instead of putting that script or the alert, you could just tell it to alert document.cookie, and it would actually just pop up your cookie. You'd see it right there. You could redirect to a malicious script if you had it on your own web server. You could have it redirect to a JavaScript that you have just sitting anywhere, and it would run it because it doesn't know the difference at that point. And there's a lot of other ways, things you can do with it as well that I'll talk about. If you're not familiar with cross-site scripting, I'm not going to be talking a whole lot more about what it is or how to do it. Well, I will be talking about how to do it on MySpace, but other than that, if you don't have a lot of information on it, you can just go to the Wikipedia page that I have at the bottom of this slide here, or you can just search Google. There's a ton of pages with cross-site scripting just defined all over the place. Here, we talk about MySpace and cross-site scripting. MySpace uses cookies, and they're not tasty. They're just cookies that I'm sure you guys are all aware of. They're just stored in the computer. It contains session and login information, as well as sometimes your email address, and there has been speculation, although I'm not going to 100% say it, that there is passwords, encrypted password in there too, using some sort of hashing. Haven't really delved into that too much. Not really interested in that. And it also contains, oddly enough, past search criteria on MySpace. Never really figured that one out, but it is in there. The session information obviously can be used for session hijacking, which is what we're going to be discussing. And there are hundreds of undetected and undiscovered cross-site scripting vulnerabilities. All you have to do is just look around, go to various pages, try the link that I posted, the other one where you just tried to do the cross-site scripting with the JavaScript. You just put that into any link that you can find that looks like it uses a web application that has search criteria, you know, an equal sign or a question mark equal sign. That would all, you can just put that in and see if it works. All you gotta do is create a link, send it to yourself, or send it to something else and see if it works. Simple as that. If it pops up, you got one. The exploit I'm gonna be talking about is actually in the browse function of the site, which is actually MySpace's version of search. I found it using trial and error, just like I was describing, just plugging it into different URLs, and I found this one. It uses a cross-site scripting hole, obviously. Requires a web server with the capability of running a CGI file, so you need to have your own web server with, I mean, one that you've either rented out of your house or one that you're buying from a company, just renting for a while. Something that can run a CGI, basically. And before I get into the CGI and all the other coding and stuff, I'm not a programmer by any means, so I'm not 100% on all of programming or anything like that, so I don't want to come off as anything like that. I kind of despise programming. I don't really like it too much. It's too hard for me. Maybe I'm just dumb, but hey. Like I said, it lies in the browse, which is the user search feature. This exploit was used, in this case, to steal cookies and to hijack current user sessions in order to take full control of their accounts. Basically, you grab the information, take over their account, and you're them. I'm going to go into detail, but that's basically it. The exploit has been patched previous to the presentation. It was probably patched about a year ago, but this is showing you how to do it, and this exact way that we're going to do it can be used with any other cross-site scripting vulnerability that you find on MySpace. This is just one I'm using an example, so I have an actual URL to show you guys. And that also pertains to what I said in the beginning about it's not really leaning itself towards script kiddies. You can't really do anything with this particular one anymore. You got to find your own. This is the URL. I'll let you guys look at it for a second. Obviously, it's just the URL, so it looks kind of retarded just sitting up there. But you can pick some of it apart. Obviously, some of it's encoded. You can see the MySpace, search results.myspace, and then the index.cfm. And then it's a little encoded. It says document, location, see your web server, cookiestealer.cgi, document.cookie, and you're doing the end script tags. I'll talk about why it's encoded in a few minutes. The cross-site scripting actually started after the search request equals, just like I talked about. The JavaScript points to a CGI file that runs on a web server that I talked about as well. It records document.cookie. What it actually does, the CGI file takes document.cookie that you called with the JavaScript, it takes it and records it to your text file of choice that you told it to log to in the CGI file, which, like I talked a little bit about before, it could be easily replaced with a redirect to malicious code in a foreign domain by using almost the exact same structure, except you wouldn't put plus document.cookie. You would just put malicious.js for the JavaScript file or whatever else you were going to use. As you saw, part of it was encoded in hex, and this is what the link actually read. If you take out the hex, you can see it actually does an end quotation and then carets, right caret, and then left caret to document.location, and then you can actually see the exact, what to type in order to have it log the document.cookie, and that's the exact link right there. And that would completely, back in a year ago, that would completely trick MySpace's system at the time to let you actually do that. And like I said, the method of evasion used here, which was just encoding in hex, actually has been patched. You can't do this anymore with just hex. There's plenty of other ways to do it, which I'm going to talk about, but the hex way is patched. Unless you find one that they missed, then you're not going to be able to use just the straight hex encoding. I think some Unicode still works though. I'm not going to say that for sure, but I'm pretty sure some of it still works as far as that goes. And like I said, there's a lot more ways to evade the filter on MySpace, and there's also plenty of ways to do it on other sites too that use the same sort of filter evasion. Trial and error is good. I mean, a lot of you guys know about just using spaces and whatnot. There's ways to do it where you can actually put breaks, like 15 of them, and since JavaScript in certain cases doesn't take the breaks as actual part of the line of code, you can put JA have 15 breaks and then VA script, and that would be, the whole word JavaScript. However, you just evaded the filter because it didn't actually pick up the JavaScript didn't pick up the breaks, but MySpace saw the breaks, or any site for that matter saw the breaks. And that site that I have posted, ha.ckers.org/xss.html, that has extremely, extremely good ways to evade cross-site scripting filters. It's used as a cheat sheet. That's actually what it's called if you go to the site. It's a cheat sheet of just tons of information on how to evade the filters and tons of information on how to enter it into a URL and try to beat it using different encoding. If you go to that site and you take one of their links, you really don't even have to do any work. All you have to do is enter your own web server in there with the file that you need. Now what we're going to talk about to do with the URL, and if you don't have a MySpace account and you wanted to try this, you need one. Sorry about that. I know a lot of people avoid MySpace because it's kind of retarded sometimes. It's kind of lame at points too. But for this particular example, you kind of need one. After you take the link that you created, which is encoded in a hex to evade the filter, you can distribute it to any number of people. Bulletins, chat rooms, forums, classifieds, messages, any of those things would work perfectly fine. My favorite was posting bulletins on a fake account. Obviously, I wouldn't use my main account because people would be mad at me. I can't do that. And then people would click it. And I'm actually going to show you in a moment. I'm going to show you the cookie log itself it's my live cookie log right now, so don't be looking at it too hard. And yeah, so you need a MySpace account and you can distribute it in any way you like. A couple of the things actually filter more than others. So for a while, forums basically didn't do anything, so you could post anything you wanted on a forum. As far as JavaScript and whatnot, they didn't filter anything for some reason, like they didn't keep up with it. So that was a good one for a while. More interesting methods, you could actually have it do automatically. Like the way we have it set up here and the way I'm showing you, the user has to click a link, which isn't a big deal because the front of the link, as you saw, started with searchresults.myspace. So if they were just to mouse over and say, oh, searchresults.myspace, and you know how it truncates the link towards the end, so it just puts ... You don't actually see the cross-site scripting in the link itself, so it looks normal to most people. Most people would click it without even thinking about it because they see, search.myspace doesn't look bad, it looks fine to me, so then you would click it. But there's actually other ways to embed various things into your page or anywhere that would just automatically do it. They won't even need to click anything. All they would need to view a page, which they would normally view. You could even post it on their home page. So they go to their own home page, you post it in their comments, and they just did it. And you don't even have to do anything more than that. But a couple ways to do that was the QuickTime virus, like I talked about. That's patched. I don't think there's any way really around it, although I've heard some things about doing it some certain ways. The new one, which hasn't been fully implemented on MySpace, but a lot of people have been messing around with it, is putting scripts in a JPEG image and changing the htaccess file to take the image as text. All you got to do is add a line into the htaccess on your server that you're running it, and then it will actually take the image as text and run the script, and you can embed it just like an image. IMGSRC, the normal HTML code to do it. It'll do it like that. Iframes on different sites. A recent exploit that I heard about used iframes on your own site, and because it did domain generalization. It was a big thing about how MySpace, if you link off of another site, they don't filter any sort of JavaScript at all, if that makes sense. You could put an iframe on your own page that links to MySpace in the iframe, and since you're in the iframe on your own page, it doesn't have any JavaScript filtering, so you can type whatever the hell you want to in there. No big deal. Or something I did for a while was ActionScript using Flash. You can have a little Flash animation on your page that at the same time is stealing their cookie, because it's sending them to a link in like another small box or a pop-up or an iframe. They wouldn't even notice because you're just playing a regular Flash file. Many of the methods, like I said, have been used, reported, and patched. A lot of these have been patched. MySpace is pretty strict about iframes right now, so you can't really do too much with them. Unless, like I talked about, you do it on your own domain. It's another whole presentation. You could talk about that for half an hour. There are a ton of methods that yet to be discovered. Anything that you can think about that you can run a script and may not be filtered, do it. Whether it be, maybe a Windows Media file or some other sort of QuickTime type virus, some other sort of flash, because, MySpace is trying to cut away with, a lot of you probably know the code to just using HTML to embed SRC, embed source, and they filter that. But there's other ways to do it. And if you can do that, then you can still probably use the flash method. Okay, once you've logged a cookie after someone's clicked it, you're going to see that. That's the cookie. Looks like nothing right now. I'm actually going to show you, my desktop not popping up. There is my cookie log right now. This is actually, I just pulled it off my server before you guys walked in the room. Since I saved it as a text file, it has no formatting, and it goes forever. But you can see, if you let's see, what am I seeing here? Let's see if I can pick anything out right away. There's email addresses in here, so you can go tell the person who clicked my link, hey, you're retarded, you clicked this kid's link. There's something that says Rafflecopter. Not sure why it's there, but Rafflecopter's in there. Maybe that was the link. Oh, this is my buddy Brian's page. He clicked my link. Let's see. Yeah, but that's basically, obviously this looks like complete crap. You're not going to be able to pull anything interesting out of this at the moment. I'll tell you in a minute what you need. There's an email address. Don't know who that is, but they clicked it. Or they clicked it to someone else. Oh, rolling fungi. Oh, there you go. I don't get that either. But hey, you know what? All right, back to this. All right, so you have this. Once you log the cookie, you get that. You go into your log, which is probably stored in the same file that you have stored in the same folder as you stored your CGI file in. That's where it is for me anyway. This is the portion that we want, though. My user info. It usually ends with a semicolon. So after that last R, there'll be a semicolon, and that usually signifies the end of my user info. And that is the user session, the live session that they just clicked, you now have. Say hello to the user session because you now have it, obviously. I'll talk about why time is of the essence in a moment, but it is. What you have to do from this point, though, is log into MySpace, as you normally would. Pick a cookie editor of your choice for your browser. I use Firefox, so I use add and edit cookies. And basically, you open it up. And like it says there, most of them work nice. It's a cookie editor. You can't mess that up too much. And then you can even do it the old-fashioned way if you want to just go into your temp files and edit it. That's going to do the same thing, but cookie editor's a lot quicker. And like I said, time is sometimes of the essence, all the time actually. So you find your current MySpace cookie for looking something similar to the one that I just pulled up, the big long one. You want the whole cookie, look for that in yours. So take the person's my user info, copy paste it, go to your cookie, find your my user info, paste over it, save the cookie, or refresh your browser. And then you are now the person. You're on their home page and you are them. There's anything else. And like it says there, you're now logged in, and to confirm, look at the top of the screen, make sure it says welcome. And a name that is probably really lame and involves some bad music, because that's what a lot of people have on MySpace as their display names. Or, like my black heart's soul in August, or something retarded like that. Just look for something lame. That isn't yours, obviously. And rejoice, because you did it. You're done. You are now them. Do anything you want to. Like it says, one thing you can do, there's a number of things you can actually do once you're logged in. You can distribute your link. You can start taking the same link you sent to that person and post a bulletin on their page. Send a link to all their friends. And then you can fish for passwords if you're really lame. I don't do that, though, because it's stupid. I'd much rather just do it the hard way. Come on. You could ruin relationships, too. A lot of people have friends that they really like, or girlfriends or whatnot, boyfriends, whatnot on MySpace. If you get in their MySpace, you could send bad messages to people and ruin some relationships. I wouldn't recommend that, though. Other friendly hijinks, you go on your friend's page and post porn. Other things, goatsy, right at the main page. Write huge, just blow it up, no big deal. And you can also do anything that the person who normally authenticated do. Besides, you can't change your password because you don't know it. That's the only thing you can't really do. You don't know the password. All you did was copy paste the cookie, so you can't do that. But anything you normally could do, no big deal. And like it says there, from here on out, it's all you. Whatever you do with the information I just gave you and whatnot, that's all what you do and whatever you feel like doing with it. Limitations of this, like I said, time is of the essence. The session only lasts until the user actually clicks the logout button. If they click your link and they're somewhat computer savvy and they notice, oh wow, I just got redirected to some page and nothing's going on, then they might, close their browser instead of hitting back. If they close their browser, that automatically logs you out of MySpace, unless you have some sort of automatic thing or you have downloads open or something. So it only lasts until they log out. So you need to actually do it before they log out. There may be a way to set the cookie to never expire. So I mean, that also is the case if you have this cookie, you copy paste it into your browser, you're now them, and if they log out and you log out, it's gone. Not gonna help you. But there may be a way to actually set it to never expire. I've never actually got it to work, but I've heard of people that have. So I'm sure there's a way to do it. If you're more savvy than me, maybe you can do it. Another limitation is if the person does notice something's wrong, say you go to their page and post goatse, they're going to know who did it probably because they just clicked the link, something weird happened, and now they have goatse. So, they might figure out whose link they clicked and that it was you and not be happy with you. And you may hurt your friend's feelings. There's a little sad face to make sure that you know that that's a bad thing. You don't want to do that. This month actually was the unofficial month of MySpace bugs. I don't know if any of you saw that. Because of such, all the decent zero-day exploits were overrun by script kiddies, and MySpace fixed them all. So I had nothing good to show you guys that I could actually demonstrate. So sorry about that. Everything good was ruined. I'm not a big fan of month of MySpace bugs. No offense to anybody who's friends with them or knows them or is trying to help out. No offense. What they're doing is they're kind of lame about it. So the sad face again, that's a bad thing. Dangers of XSS, I mean, there are a lot, but I'm going to go through a couple. The vulnerabilities on sites are found daily, to any site you can imagine that uses dynamic web applications. Usually big sites, no one really cares about small sites. But if you go to any given security site, I use Packet Storm Security, Millworm sometimes has them, Slackers.org has them. That's like a site for web application security and whatnot. Often, cross-site scripting is overlooked and considered not critical because they're so prevalent that people think, they're all over the place. Why is someone going to pick mine? You know what I mean? Sites like that. And because of that, and because of laziness or money or whatever other reason, they're not patched or fixed for long periods of time. MySpace obviously does it, but they have so many that they can't keep up with it. But they do it because, it's like multi-millions of users. So they do it because, they try to make people happy, which doesn't really make any sense because it's free, but whatever. It could lead to leaking personal information, like I talked about a little bit. It could lead to, this isn't on MySpace, obviously. You don't enter your credit card on MySpace. I'm talking about just in general. It could leak into personal information, credit card fraud, identity theft, or worse. I'm not sure exactly why I put worse because I can't think of anything worse that you could do unless they stalk and kill you with your personal information. But that's about the worst it can get. But either way, you don't want to get your credit card stolen or identity theft or all that junk anyway. A lot of corporate websites, banks, etc., schools have tons of these vulnerabilities all over them. So if the site uses cookies and you have found a cross-site scripting vulnerability, you can exploit it just like you would have, like I just showed you how to do on MySpace. Same thing. Even if they don't use cookies, you can still use it to exploit various things. You could still send it to redirect someone and have them type in. If it has a cross-site scripting, you could set up your own fake phishing page on a bank, which is a lot more profitable, I would imagine, than the phishing page on MySpace, because you can do a lot more with the credit card numbers. And it also, a lot of other sites also contain other web vulnerabilities, which I'm not going to cover because there are hundreds of thousands. How to protect yourself from cross-site scripting, it's kind of logical. Just log out of MySpace when you're done. Don't let it sit there for hours and hours. Don't click links that look funny. If you can tell that the links look kind of retarded, you probably shouldn't click it. Don't check Remember Me, because that actually is the one that you saw my couple people's email addresses in there. When you click Remember Me, that sends it to your cookies. If you don't check that, your email address isn't going to be in the cookie. Not that it really matters, because they already have your cookie and they're going to log in anyway, but still. You could download an IDS for your browser, which is Intrusion Detection System, if you didn't know what that means. You can actually get that for Firefox now. There's a pretty good couple decent ones out. I'm pretty sure there's a couple for Internet Explorer as well. Don't quote me on that. And all of these principles can be used outside of MySpace. If you're on a bank website, don't leave it open. If you see a link that looks funny for a bank, don't click it. Don't check Remember Me. I never check. I mean, one of our policies, like I said, at a CPA firm, since I'm a network administrator, one of our policies is that if you check something like Remember Me, you get beaten with your computer. How to protect your website if you have one that uses dynamic web applications. There's a lot of ways. I just listed a few obvious ones. Validate input, that's always good. Secure user cookies, kind of difficult, but it's possible. Apply the JavaScript filters that we talked about, the ones that make you encode. You can even go further than MySpace if you really, really, really feel the need to. I mean, they do work. They stopped a lot of people from doing a lot on MySpace. So granted, there are ways around them. It stops the common folk from just doing whatever they feel like doing. Don't allow cross-domain scripting. Do not store important information in cookies, which is kind of obvious. And use encrypted sessions, which is always good as well. These are the tools that I use. I don't know if you can really read it, so I'll read it out loud too. It's kind of tiny up there. Since I use Firefox, these are good extensions that I use. Tamper Data, which is actually, it edits and views HTTP requests, which is very helpful if you are into web security. Add and edit cookies I already spoke about, which is what I use to edit the Firefox cookies. There, and it's very easy to use. It lists them, and it lists the domains on the left, and if you click them, it shows exactly on the right. It's real easy to copy paste into that. In that one, I like it. Firebug, which I recently discovered not too long ago, is awesome. It actually lets you debug and modify web code as you're sitting there looking at it. So although it's not really related to this particular presentation, if you know what SQL injection is, it's great for it because say there's a, the input isn't validated beyond just a simple script sitting on the page, like a bank for say, just as an example. If you know it's not validated after it's sent and there's just an application that says, make sure no one types in nothing or 0 or 1 or whatever, any sort of JavaScript that they actually have sitting on the page, you can actually just take that out. Just while it's sitting there. And it'll still use all the server, all the configurations if it was still on the internet. It obviously will only be, it won't be actually put on their website, that's obvious, but it'll be locally for you, so you just took out the filtering without even doing anything. You don't have to save and edit anything. It does it right there. And it's really easy to use, and I like it. I would recommend anyone, if you're not going to do anything else with this, just take a look at that, because it's really neat. And then the Firekeeper is the IDS I was talking about. I haven't used that too much, but intrusion detection system, so it'll tell you when you're about to do something stupid. Hackbar helps find SQL injection and cross-site scripting holes. It's not point-click, here's the exploit, have fun, but it does help out a lot. It definitely isn't for script kiddies. You need to know what you're doing before you use it. But switch proxy, it's kind of obvious. It helps you switch proxies. Keep anonymous information or keep you anonymous while you're browsing or doing whatever you may be doing. Tor button, which is used with Tor and Vidalia, which is a peer-to-peer proxy. Basically, it takes a bunch of people run the same program, and it bounces the information all over the internet. So you're as anonymous as you could be with it. And that button in Firefox enables it and disables it really quickly, so you don't actually have to do anything else. Peros is a web vulnerability scanning proxy, which you just run it, and then you go into your proxy settings, change your proxy settings to run off of localhost. It'll go through this Peros, and it brings up, it can spider all these sites. It can spider, which is just going through all the directories, finding every file it can possibly find. It scans for web vulnerabilities like SQL injection and cross-site scripting. It'll actually scan for them automatically. It'll give you any other misconfigured web server errors or anything that it can find that like a configuration file that's not locked for whatever reason or isn't properly hidden, that's in like a default location, say for Apache or something. It'll actually show you where it's at and whatnot quickly. Akinetics web vulnerability scanner, which if I'm not mistaken actually costs money, but the demo worked great. So I tried it out for a couple things and it was good. And Nikto and Wikto, which is web pen testing utilities for Linux and Windows, and it's sort of like Peros, except you don't run it like a proxy. You just sort of run it against the site. It works well, though. They're good. Getting towards the end here, the conclusion, obviously, is MySpace is a hacking sandbox. So if you ever really want to mess with some web application security, MySpace is not a bad place to start because there's a lot of things you can mess with. I think there's also, I've never tried it myself, but I'm pretty sure there's SQL injection holes in the site as well, so you can mess with that if you know what that is. There's a lot you can do with that. Endless possibilities, like it says up there. There's so many things you could find just by taking the time to do it. You take a couple hours, you probably could find 5 holes without even racking your brain. Just typing in the, put on copy paste, enter it, see if it's there. Works, great. Doesn't, whatever. But you could find them so easily. Or if you feel lazy, you could just Google it, and there's web forums that people like post the full disclosures of the exploits, just sitting right there, while they're 0 day. They're not reported, they're not patched. All you gotta do is Google for that if you're feeling lazy. I mean, if you want to try this when you get home, that's all you have to do is just do that. You can learn ideas and methodologies that you can be used in more useful hacks, like I talked about. If you really wanted to, obviously, I don't try to tell anybody to do anything malicious, and I don't do it myself. Besides just toying around with information and whatnot, so I wouldn't say that cracking a bank with cross-site scripting is a good idea. But I mean, if you really want to do it, that's up to you. Have fun in jail. But yeah, you can. The thing you learn just from this presentation could be used on hundreds of thousands of sites. You could completely open up new holes and report. I mean, if you even, just knowing this could get you a job, per se. If you were to go to a site, find these holes and say, hey, you know what, guys, you have all these holes, so you need to hire me so I can fix them. And they'll be like, all right, whatever. And then that'll get you a job. So you need to have fun with it, too. It's always fun to mess around with MySpace. MySpace in general is fun, because it's so stupid. On that note, you should friend me. If you have MySpace, that's my URL. You should write it down and friend me when you get home or when you get on your computer, which I'm sure is just sitting around somewhere in the building, so you should just friend me, just because. I talk about how lame it is. That's my actual account. That's not my cross-site scripting account, as far as you know. And then that's my email address if for some reason you wanted to email me. I don't know why you would, but just in case you did. Basically, that's the closing. Does anybody have any questions or anything? Anything? Anything at all? No? 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 Okay. Whatever works. Well, that's pretty much it. Hope you liked it.
Messing syntax or